Alright, Donald Trump and his son have both had a rough 24 hours. Donald Trump did a sit-down interview with Dave Ramsey, who runs a financial show where he gives advice, but the advice is usually something to the effect of, hey, don't buy index funds, just put all of your money in this solo stock that I'm personally recommending you. It's weird and it's scammy, and that's probably why he's attracted to Donald Trump and why Trump decided to do a sit-down interview with him. At the same time, Donald Trump Jr. got ruthlessly fact-checked by Caitlin Collins in the spin room in New York last night, and I want to break down all of this throughout the video. We have 35 days to go and no time to waste. Make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and let's jump in with this clip of Donald Trump talking about how the economy was so good in 2020 when people were in food lines and we had the worst job record since the Great Depression.
Making it great again. I had the country going just prior to COVID coming in at a level that nobody had ever seen. And even if you go all 4 years, it was so good that even with that terrible interruption that just destroyed the world, we had the greatest 4 years. The economy was so great. The job numbers were the best ever, etc.
He almost lost us 3 million jobs when you take 2020 into account, and that is a repeated pattern with Republican administrations. And the most annoying part is Democrats then get into office and are blamed on the mess that Republicans made. It happened with Obama after the housing crisis of '08, which wasn't directly Bush's fault, but Bush didn't handle it too well. Then Obama has to clean up, then Trump takes credit for Obama's cleanup, and then Trump crashes the economy and Biden has to clean up. It's absolutely disgusting. Here is Caitlin Collins fact-checking Donald Trump Jr. when talking about J.D. Vance and the Hitler quote.
Environment wasn't just created by Donald Trump.
Okay, but can I say, you can't blame, and everyone wants your dad to be safe. No one wants the threats against his life to happen, but you can't blame the media for those threats. There's been no evidence that's what drove those.
And allows people to have a platform to call someone literally Hitler every day for 9 years, it creates it.
Okay.
Whether you want to believe it or not, that's a fact.
But as you know, J.D. Vance once likened your dad to Hitler as well. He questioned if he was America's Hitler. But I want to talk about the debate.
Boom. Caitlin Collins is good. Quick on the spot. I want to show you this clip of Dave Ramsey asking Trump, how do you hire quality leaders? Not only is this question laughable, but Trump's answer is even more laughable. Listen to this answer.
Talk about what it's like to work for Donald Trump. How do you hire leaders and put people in place that do that? Because I know you're obviously not there personally managing that, but you put a culture in place in your organization, and that applies to the administration as well, hiring people that are quality leaders.
Well, my son, Eric, is very much involved, and he runs a lot of it. And Don helps out a lot. And Ivanka, to a lesser extent, you know, she's a great mother and everything. She did a fantastic job in the administration. All she wanted to do is get people jobs. And she'd go around and see Exxon and see Walmart. She wanted jobs for people. It's really pretty amazing. She could have had a very glamorous job, and she would have done well. But Eric's done a great job. And I did a similar type of job when I was doing it. Now I'm doing a thing called running for president, so I don't get.
So Trump's answer to this question is that he hired his kids, and that's how he finds quality leaders to hire, because his kids are quality leaders. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it's actually kind of scary. I mean, Trump is saying that he doesn't hire qualified individuals. He qualifies his son, Don Jr., his son, Eric, his daughter, Ivanka, and he was saying that he thinks they did a good enough job. They obviously did not. But also, the question is silly in and of itself, because Trump doesn't hire quality people. Trump had a 92% turnover rate within his cabinet during his first year, and that is reflective of his poor leadership skills, his inability to pick people who are actually clever. And yeah, here's another clip of Don Jr. getting fact-checked by Caitlin Collins. I mean, she was on fire during this interview.
Jr., you urged your dad to pick J.D. Vance as his running mate famously a few months ago. How do you think he did tonight?
I thought it was a masterclass. It was just an incredible performance, just real command of the facts, didn't let sort of the fake fact check, try to steamroll him. He came back with actual facts. I think he literally won every issue across the board. I think he was actually very comfortable on so many of the issues that Republicans tend to fail. He was probably more comfortable in those issues than most Republicans are, even on our strong points. So I think it was an incredible debate.
Do you think he was more comfortable in those issues than your dad was in the last debate?
Well, I don't think, it wasn't necessarily a 3-on-1 debate. It started that way. I think J.D. Vance shut that down, and there were rules, and we said they should be enforced.
What Caitlin Collins did there is really clever, and there's more to the clip, but she's trying to pit Don Jr. and JD Vance and Donald Trump against each other, we know that Donald Trump's ego is so fragile that if he gets outshined, outclassed by JD Vance, he might take that as a slight. Think about why he picked Mike Pence in 2016, not only to appeal to evangelicals, but because Mike Pence is so bland and boring that there's no chance of him outshining Donald Trump. So now Caitlin Collins is trying to dig at that and try to basically pit them against each other. Listen one more time with that in mind.
Do you think he was more comfortable in those issues than your dad was in the last debate?
Well, I don't think, it wasn't necessarily a 3-on-1 debate. It started that way. I think J.D. Vance shut that down, and there were rules, and we said they should be enforced. Those rules were not enforced with my father. I think what happened in his debate was absolutely disgusting, and I think the American people witnessed that. I think they saw the bias that's out there in the media. I think they see that we are literally up against $1 trillion of mainstream media. You're up against $1 trillion of big tech functioning as the marketing department for the other side. But
all he does is play the victim, play the victim. Here's another one of Donald Trump with Dave Ramsey talking about the 1890s.
A lot of people are, oh, well, we don't want to have tariffs. The country was at the richest point in its history in the 1890s. It was all tariffs. If you looked at William McKinley as an example, he was a big tariff president. They had committees that were put in charge of what to do with the money. We were taking in so much money. But a lot of people are, oh, well, we don't want to have tariffs. The country was at the richest point in its history in the 1890s. It was all tariffs. If you looked at William McKinley as an example, he was a big tariff president. They had committees that were put in charge of.
What is he yapping about? Who's going to tell Trump that the economy has changed over the past 140 years? The times are a little bit different. And also, this is what he means when he says make America great again. He's talking about the 1890s. That was it this entire time. Here is Donald Trump Jr. Again, getting fact-checked by Caitlin Collins. Super relentless, brutal. Take a look.
Because a weak America is good for Russia. A weak America is good for Iran, and a weak America is great for China, all of whom are chomping at the bit for a Harris-Walz administration and the continuation of the Biden policies that have failed America for the last 3.5 years.
Well, and I should note, when you talk about Iran, I mean, Iran did hit American troops when your dad was in office. I covered that, and today he was asked about that. He likened the traumatic brain injuries to headaches. But on the debate itself...
Yep, good stuff. Don Jr. does not know how to respond, and watch Jake Tapper's response.
Said he agreed with Governor Walz on some things as well. Donald Trump Jr., thank you for your time tonight. Jake, back to you.
Well, that was a lot.
It's funny because Caitlin Collins definitely knows she killed it. Look at her smile at the end there when she looks in the camera. She's like, that was a good interview. That's going to be clipped up on ASIN. That's what she's thinking. Here's Van Jones talking about Vance.
He lied the entire night. He lied about American energy production, which is up. He said it's down. He lied about health care. He said Donald Trump saved Obamacare. You have to be literally
I was on Capitol
crack.
Hill. He
I want
didn't.
to talk about that when you're done.
He said you'd have to be literally on crack.
He lied about the insurrections. He said we had a peaceful transfer of power. He lied. He said he never supported a national abortion ban. Donald Trump is the gaslighter in chief, and this is his loyal lieutenant who came out here to try to polish up the crazy. And I think Americans need to be very, very careful. This is a very, very deceptive guy.
Very deceptive guy. Very well said. If you enjoyed this video, if you appreciate what I do, drop a like, hit that subscribe button. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out.